How's it going, folks? This is Mike, and I'm back with another look at my miscellaneous film collection from the shelves behind me. So let's get going. Starting off with The Four Seasons. Nice, funny little flick with Alan Alda, Carol Burnett, a whole bunch of other people. Okay. Next up is The French Connection, Gene Hackman. Best Picture of, Best Picture of 1971 or 72. No, 71. Next up, From Here to Eternity, another Best Picture winner, 1953, Frank Sinatra, Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, a whole bunch of other people. Here I have these two packages are from it's a course I took called The History of Early Christianity from Jesus to Constantine. So it would be the first 400 years of the Christian religion. Okay. Next up is Frost Nixon. Next up is Frozen River, film I have not yet taken out of the package. Next up is Marlon Brando in The Fugitive Kind, also starring Anna Magnani and Joanne Woodward from a play by Tennessee Williams. Very good movie. Next up is Funny Face, starring Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn and I think it's Bogart, isn't it? Wait a minute. Audrey Hepburn... No, Fred Astaire, sorry. Next up is Funny Farm, Chevy Chase. Sorry for that glare. I'm trying to get away from it. It's better if I turn it to the side. Okay, next up is a double feature with Barbra Streisand, Funny Girl, and Funny Lady. Both pretty good musicals. Let's see, how's that? Still not very good, is it? Okay, here's the movie I have not yet watched. It's called Fun with Dick and Jane, starring George Segal and Jane Fonda. Get around to it one of these days. I don't know when. Next up is The Game, Michael Douglas, Sean Penn, which I just bought and watched a little while ago. Here is the Gene Krupa story, starring Sal Mineo as the famous drummer. Next up is Georgia Girl, starring Lynn Redgrave. Next up is Get Real, an English film. Next up is Ghost, Patrick Swayze, a movie that everybody likes. Next up is Don Knotts and the Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Great funny flick. Okay. Next up is Ghost World, Thora Birch, Scarlett Johansson, Steve Buscemi. Very good movie. Next up is The Ghosts of Girlfriends Past with Matthew McConaughey, which is so-so, not really good. Here's a package of all three Gidget films from 1959 through 1963. The first one starring Sandra Dee, which is the best one. Then we have The Gift, starring Cate Blanchett, which I still haven't watched yet. You hear me say that a lot, don't you, that I haven't watched these yet. Here is another one I haven't watched yet, The Girl with Green Eyes, starring Rita Tushingham and, let's see, Peter Finch. Okay, another English film. Here is a documentary called The God Who Wasn't There, which is a documentary about, from the atheist point of view, which is pretty fascinating stuff. Here we have Going My Way, Best Picture of 1944, starring Bing Crosby as a priest. That's great to have that right next to The God Who Wasn't There. Tells you something about where my mind is. Next we have The Goldwyn Follies from 1938. Very strange little film. It's kind of just a series of musical performances and comedy performances by people like Vera Zorina and the Ritz brothers, who are not funny. Very, very strange little movie. Can't really say it's a good movie, but it's fascinating to watch. Gone with the Wind. Aren't we all? Then we have Goodfellas. Great movie. Fantastic movie. Look forward to seeing that again many times. Then we have, what is this called? Oh, another one I haven't opened yet. The Good German. The Good German, starring Cate Blanchett, and who else is in it? I have no idea. Tobey Maguire, George Clooney. Get around to that one of these days. Then we have a Jack Lemmon comedy from 1964 called Good Neighbor Sam, co-starring Romy Schneider and Dorothy Provine. and one of my favorite comedians, Joyce Jameson. That's a pretty good flick. I remember seeing that when it first came out. This is Good Night and Good Luck. Okay. And here is a nice little box set that I bought for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Bought it for about $3. And the cover's torn up a little bit, but glad to have this. Okay. Okay, continuing on. Here is a film called Good Times, which came out in 1966 or 7, starring Sonny and Cher in their first film, which is just kind of a silly comedy, supposedly about the real life of Sonny and Cher, which probably has nothing to do with any kind of reality. Then we have Good Will Hunting, great film that everybody likes. Next up is Gosford Park, fantastic English film that I saw when it first came out. A whole bunch of great people in this. Well, let's see. Are they? Maybe they're not that great. I know Ryan Philippe is in it. Okay. The Gospel According to St. Matthew, a film by Pier Paolo Pasolini, which is a very interesting take on that, the story of Christ. And here we have The Graduate. Graduate. Classic 60s. Then we have Grease. Classic 50s. All right. Okay, sorry for that cutoff there. My computer stopped for some reason, so I'll just start again where I was with The Great American Teen. This is a collection from Alpha Video, collection of educational films that they used to show when I was growing up back in the 50s and 60s, and a lot of them were made quite a bit earlier, I think. Problems that teenagers have about dating and friendships and all that sort of thing. Trouble with parents, you know, that sort of. It's great. They're all outdated, but they're great fun for me to watch. Next up is The Great Ziegfeld, Best Picture of 1936. 1936 from MGM. It's all about the life of Florence Ziegfeld, who's played by William Powell, and it also stars Myrna Loy and Louise Reiner. Okay, cool movie. Here's a modern kind of a musical. It's called Groove. It came out around 2000 or 1999. It's all about people going to a rave, which is something I've never done, but I like the music they play, all the dance music, and it just has all these different characters around, filled up with a lot of great electronic and dance music from that period. Guilt Trip, Barbra Streisand and Seth Rogen. Not a bad little flick. Gypsy, classic musical film from a classic musical play. The play starred Ethel Merman, but she was replaced in the film by Rosalind Russell, who can't sing, but she's still pretty good. Also Natalie Wood and Carl Malden. Very good musical. Okay, next up is a Paramount film from the 1940s starring Eddie Bracken, directed by Preston Sturges. It's called Hail the Conquering Hero. Okay. Next up is the original version of Hairspray with Divine and Ricky Lake. I don't like the remake very much, the one with John Travolta. Next up is an early sound film called Hallelujah, directed by King Vidor, and it has an all-black cast. Very interesting curio film. Here is Clint Eastwood, Hang 'em High. Then we have, what do we have? We have the Beatles, Hard Day's Night. Classic. Okay. Then we have another fantastic cult film from the 1970s called Harold and Maude, starring Bud Cort and Ruth Gordon. I used to go to see this at midnight movies all the time in the 70s. Just really fell in love with it. Here's a movie with Paul Newman called Harper. Kind of fun. Next up is the quintessential Catholic boys' school experience, Heaven Help Us, starring Andrew McCarthy. Who else has it got in it? It's really good actors from the period. Mary Stuart Masterson, Kevin Dillon, and also Donald Sutherland and Stephen Jeffries. Very, very good film. A lot of fun. Here is Heaven Knows Mr. Allison, starring Robert Mitchum and Deborah Carr. This was from 1957, directed by John Huston. All about a Marine who it takes place in World War II. A Marine is separated from his company, and he's trapped on this tropical island, and the only other survivor on the island is a nun, and so they have to get together and survive, and it's really a beautiful movie. Hellcats of the Navy. Now here's a curio item for you, because it stars Ronald Reagan and Nancy Davis, who of course became Nancy Reagan. This is the only movie they ever made together, and it's really kind of a howl, quite frankly. This is a documentary about Jimi Hendrix, and even though I love Jimi Hendrix and his music, the documentary itself is not that fascinating, so it's a big disappointment. But I am a big fan of Jimi Hendrix music. Next up is a documentary called "Here's Looking at You, Warner Brothers," all about the beginning of the Warner Brothers studio and how everything changed and through the years, and it's really fascinating. A lot of great information and great interviews and stock footage and all that. Here is a film, a low budget film that I never heard of until I just picked it up for a couple of bucks, called Hesher. Starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Who else? Who are these actors? Rainn Wilson and Natalie Portman. Very interesting little movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is quite good in that. Next we have Robert De Niro in Hi Mom, a film directed by Brian De Palma. I still have not watched this. Sorry, I won't say that again, I promise. Next we have Ali Sheedy in High Art. I like that movie very much. And then finally, the perfect film for people who collect records, people like me, John Cusack in High Fidelity. Great movie, okay? And great music, too. And that's it. So I will get back for the rest of the shelves eventually. Thank you.